Hey everyone, thanks for clicking on the video. This is Bad Vibes. Make sure you hit that like button, it'll really help me out. Joining me today is NightDocs. He will be reading 3 stories throughout this video, so make sure you go sub to him if you like his voice. He does all types of videos, and his channel is about to blow up, so jump on the bandwagon early. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. So, where do I start? I guess I can begin with a bit of background. This story takes place at a Kroger. I wasn't a customer or anything, no, I was an employee. I'm night shift, which means no one else is in the store but us employees. But when the store opens, there's a couple hours of opportunity to interact with the customers. So I met this man and he looked like he was in his 60s, probably 6 foot tall. I'm 5'4", and he walked with a slow pace and a limp. Nothing too threatening, right? Now, I've seen this guy all the time, sometimes even with his wife. He didn't say anything bad to me at first, just, "You're working too hard." And that's it. I would usually answer back with, "Hardly working." Nothing bad, so very harmless and forgetful. I moved on with my shift. It goes like this for a while, with the same greeting and everything, sometimes even making a bit of small talk. He never really had anything special to say. "I used to teach karate," he says, "and I'm a 3rd degree black belt, until they kicked me out." No lie, he actually said kicked me out. So me being curious and dumb, I asked why, for reasons I honestly cannot remember. But I think in that moment of curiosity, he saw an opportunity to literally vent to me. This is where harmless goes downhill. He would share too much, way too much. He would say things like, "My wife hates my guts and constantly says she wants to divorce. My kids want nothing to do with me and took away all my weapons. My wife beats me and I got arrested on false accusations of hitting her back. I got married to my wife when I was 19 and adopted her 2 kids when it happened. I'm a 21-year-old girl who just wanted to do my job and go home. I don't care about any of this." But in my eyes, I saw that he felt lonely, so I continued to play the part of the listener. Time goes on and I would see him a couple times a week, and he would take up at least 20 minutes of my time to talk to me. He said a couple of other things to me, but I've honestly tuned him out at this point. He literally does nothing but complain, and more complaining. It's honestly taxing to listen to him. So this is where I become just plain stupid, and I have since then regretted my actions. We were acquainted at this time. I know his name, his wife, and he damn well gave me more information about himself than necessary. So I clock out of work and walk outside. I see old dude. We walk, we talk. Well, he talks and I just listen. And he suddenly says to me, "I have my phone number if you want. You don't have to accept if I'm creeping you out." I felt obligated and dumbfounded, but I took the damn piece of paper with his number on it. This is a 60-year-old man talking to a 21-year-old girl. I don't call him, but kept the piece of paper in my wallet. At this point in time, I'm not really getting major red flags. He just seems like a lonely old man that wants to talk to someone nice for a change, because he makes it out like the whole world is moving against him and is out for his life. I'm not exaggerating this either. Moving on with the story, I let him have my number, not expecting him to call really. When I get a text, and I quote, since I still have them, "Please help me. I need to talk to you." I panic a bit since this sounds like a cry for help. I call him immediately. The conversation was a bit lost on me because he goes on and on about his wife was beating him and how he has no friends and how I was his only friend. How I'm the most beautiful woman he had ever met, the smartest, the kindest, and blah blah. He was on the phone with me for an hour, and I had to go to bed in a couple hours since I worked the night shift. He called every day, at least once a day. Dude knew my birthday was coming up and called to ask what I would want. I said I didn't care. He asked me about flowers and if I liked them, if I liked jewelry. I didn't care. He then said he wasn't going to call me for the next 3 days, and the next time he would see me, he would give me my gift. Fine, whatever. I hung up. Unfortunately, disaster struck and a family member of mine passed away. Cancer. It's just one of those things. I didn't know him that well, but he was a good, kind-hearted man. I went to the funeral to support my dad since he saw him as a father. I texted the old dude to let him know that I can't receive his gift and I was going to go to a funeral. I leave work early to head home and get dressed and ready for the long day when my phone goes off. I got a text message from him saying, "I understand. I need to talk to you. Please call me when you can." I ignored that crap and moved on with my plans. I'm in the middle of the funeral, surrounded by grieving people chatting back and forth, when my phone begins to ring. My heart sinks to the lowest pit of hell when I recognize the ringtone. It was the old dude. I ignore the call and continue with the funeral when he calls again, not even 5 minutes later. I leave the loud room and walk into the hallway, answering the phone angrily and generally pissed off. I say I'm at a funeral and I hang up. He then proceeds to call me and text me one last time during the day. That was a total of 3 calls while I was at a funeral. Normally, people would respect other people's privacy when things like death happen. I turn off my phone. I get back home and I call dude to see what the hell was going on, and he doesn't answer back. The next day he calls me, moans and groans about how he had the worst day of his life, how his wife slapped him across his face and stuff. I'm sorry about the abuse, but I honestly don't really believe him at this point. He goes on for an hour when he says something that broke my sympathy for him. If I was younger, I would ask you to be my wife. What? It's true. I would want to take you ice skating, show you out to the town, and treat you like the lady you are. That's something you just don't say to a 22-year-old girl. I was at wit's end with this man. I'm done. So my birthday rolls around and he texts me twice. Please call me anytime you can and let me know how your birthday went and what you got for your birthday. Love me. Will you please go skating tomorrow morning, please? Let me know, please, for our birthdays. I wish I was lying about these texts. That was the last text I got from him, and I told him in person to lose my number. He said he understood, but he still called me at least 2 more times and talked to me on the phone for an hour, talking about how he would love to teach me karate and how I needed to defend myself, how I needed to prepare to take a life if necessary. Like, he goes into gruesome detail about what he would do to them. I freaking block his number as soon as he hangs up. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Now we get to today. I saw him out of the corner of my eye, slowly lumbering over to me. I greeted him, but kept on working. He talked to me for at least 20 minutes. During the time, he bought a vase of roses and gave them to me. It was around that time that the store manager saw how long I was talking to him and came over to break it up. Dude walks away and the store manager looks at me, clearly concerned, and asked me if I was okay. I told her I was fine and that he was harmless. She told me not to talk to him for that long anymore and that I need to do my job and leave. I understood where she was coming from. So the store manager leaves and I get back to work. Minutes away from leaving when another employee walks up. He also knows of the old dude and I talked to him before. He told me that old dude had been kicked out of the store before for inappropriate comments to other female workers. He says he's got my back if I need to escape from dude, and I thanked him for his concern. So here I am, seconds away from leaving and staring at the roses in my cart. Yeah, I'm definitely throwing those away, I said to myself, heading back to the break room. I run into 2 employees just when I'm about to toss the roses. My employee asks me what's wrong with them, and I say I got them from an unwanted guest. It was in an instant that she knew who I was talking about. "That dirty old man?" she said. Clearly, a lot of people in the store knew about him. I offered the rose to my other coworker to get them off my hands, and she gladly takes them, saying to come to her if he bugs me again. So I'm flower free, and the phone number is blocked. I drive home and realize that I need to tell my dad about this. So I tell him the truth. Not about all the phone calls, since I'm a coward, but enough for him to become concerned. I give him the piece of paper with his number on it. Needless to say, my dad's keeping a calm and keen eye on the horizon while polishing his guns at the moment. Update. It's only been a day since I posted the story, and I got one more thing to say. He came back today and walked up to me. I didn't even look at him. "I got you into trouble yesterday, didn't I?" I immediately said, yes you did, still refusing to look at him. "I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry." And that was it. He said that and left right after. What do you guys think? I believe he's harmless, just doesn't know his boundaries well. Second update. Oh boy, he came in again for the 4th day in a row. This is definitely obsessive behavior. No one goes to the grocery store for 4 days in a row. He came in again and gave me a card, apologizing for getting me in trouble the other day. It read, "I'm sorry I got you into trouble. I hate it worse if I can't talk to you anymore. Please call me. You're my only friend. I don't want to lose you as a friend. I love talking to you every morning. You make my day. I'll be on my best behavior. Please call me." I let this whole thing drag on way too long. I gotta end it now before my parents become full-fledged mama bear and papa bear mode. So this is the final update. I guess I can finally put this whole stupid ordeal behind me now. I know I was stupid, but what else is new? So I told my boss about what happened, and naturally, he took it very serious. I showed him the card and everything, and he said he would handle it. So some time passed, and I still see the guy every so often, ignoring him like I'm supposed to do. I told my boss that the old dude was inside the store, and he literally went hunting for him, going up and down the aisles trying to find him, but no luck. I guess the dude left. The next time I saw him was more comical, really. I was talking to my boss about whatever, and I gestured to a pallet behind me that I had to start on. I was casually looking over my shoulder, and the old dude was standing right behind me. I made a weird gasping sound and spun back around, eyes wide, a bit caught off guard. I don't know if he was pretending to look for something. My boss picked up on it right away and said, "Is that him?" "Yep." "I'll talk to him." My boss went towards the guy, and I walked away, wanting nothing to do with it. A couple of minutes later, my boss found me again and said that him and the old dude had a small chat. Nothing bad. He basically told the old dude that he was making me uncomfortable and he needs to leave me alone. Things like that.
Before my story, this happened a month ago and I'm doing much better now, and for my future jobs, I will never take night shifts as the dark alone gives me the creeps. I've applied for many jobs because I'm the legal age for working as I'm in high school. I am in need of money and need to help my family out as well, so at this point I'd take any job. 5 jobs accepted me, so I decided to do a trial at my first job. That was quick enough to accept, which was McDonald's. I need to say that the staff and the manager are all nice, and my friend works there, which is a total bonus. The only downfall working there is probably the customers, which is something my friend agreed with, but anyway. I didn't know what to pick for shifts, or even if I even wanted the job, so I asked for a practice shift. My manager happily agreed and let me choose my times. Instead of a daytime shift, I chose night, which was a bad decision, right? But hey, I needed to see what it was like working there anyway, so this would be an easy one since it's night, right? I was terribly wrong on that. I got ready in my friend's uniform that she let me borrow, and she even drove me there. I'd rather be honest. The McDonald's was rather sketchy, and when I say sketchy, I mean there are so many alcoholics and druggies around, and upon arrival, it really didn't feel right. During the car ride, I had a gut feeling it wasn't going to be a good shift, but, my friend kept reassuring me it'll be fine. She dropped me off at the bus stop, which was about 5 minutes from my workplace, and said she'd pick me up at 12 a.m. So it's 10 p.m. now. My practice shift lasts about 2 hours. I agreed and said for her to pick me up at the same spot she dropped me off at. As she sped away, I merely watched as her car shrunk into the distance. After I saw it was gone, I started walking towards McDonald's. But while I was walking, I heard footsteps behind me. I didn't think much of it because it was a normal thing, The person was probably just walking to their car or McDonald's or even the shops. But I had a gut feeling. I felt like I was almost being watched, and I stopped for a second. The footsteps stopped, right with mine. And I looked behind me to see a guy around his mid-40s just eyeing me off. I got pretty weirded out as he just smiled at me and breathed heavy. He was a lot taller than me and looked rather stronger and bigger than me. He was around what looks to be about a few meters away. I quickly looked away and ran off to my workplace. There was only 3 people working, my manager and my male friend and I. It was 10:30 p.m. now, and I already had a share of drunken, rude people filling the orders up. One even tried hitting on me. But he quickly left after my friend showed up and helped me. He helped me out with most of the things, and I really felt safe with him. He was an acquaintance of mine, but we soon grew into best friends. After I was done taking some drunk guy's order, my friend pulled me aside and asked if I knew the guy outside. I was confused at what he meant, and at first I thought he was joking around until he pointed out right out the window, and my mouth went dry and my face completely dropped. It was the same creepy old guy that had been following me before work. But I didn't tell him that because, I don't know, instead, because I was an idiot, I just laughed a bit and said that it was, it was no big deal. He shrugged it off and went back into the kitchen. It hit 11 p.m. or so. No more customers were present, and the same guy would not stop staring at me. At that point, I held my head down and begged, hoping he wouldn't come in. I felt his beady eyes run up and down my body. It was gross. Made me feel dirty. He has been there ever since the start of my shift now, and it's been there for about 30 minutes outside the window, making it 10:30 p.m. I started to panic a bit as I was absolutely begging for him to not come in. In the middle of my thoughts, I heard something. My heart stopped. It was the door opening. The creepy guy slowly walked towards my counter, eyeing my whole body until he was right in front of me. Heavily breathing and drooling almost, his breath reeked like alcohol and cigarettes. And he had this musky scent that, to be honest, nearly made me vomit. My red flag was high as I carried on with my nice act. He just wouldn't stop staring at me. I glanced at my friend who was at the kitchen busy making sure nothing was basically burning. I turned my attention back to the guy, and no matter what I asked, he was silent. For 5 minutes, it went on like that, until eventually he said something. "Beautiful skin, so young, short black hair, such nice complexion you have." Before I could even speak or try and call somebody or just get somebody over there, I wasn't prepared for what happened. The old guy launched towards me and tried entering the counterpart, which was the same part I was working at. He looked at me like I was some piece of meat. Trying to climb over the counter wasn't easy for him, though, eventually trying to grab me and getting stuck midway as I tried backing up. To my luck, I slipped and landed right on my ass. I tried my best just to crawl away, just hoping he wouldn't pass through. I was, of course, rather startled and afraid to the point where I just couldn't mutter a word. My friend dropped what he was doing as he screamed for my manager to come over. My manager quickly showed up, which made the old guy get back on his feet and flee. My friend quickly ran to my aid and took me to the back room, which is what my manager told him to do, in order to calm me down and to call the cops. I glanced at my friend. He looked pale and rather puzzled, like he just saw a ghost. My manager waited at the counter for the cops. My friend quickly explained who the guy was. Turns out, that guy was known pretty well for creeping on female staff members while they worked. He'd take pictures, ask for their phone number, offer alcohol, and even documented what they looked like. He was already banned from entering the place or even being near it. And yes, the cops were very aware of who he was due to his disturbing predatory behavior in the past. And apparently, he even sexually assaulted one of the girls after her shift. After the whole investigation and getting questioned, it was 1 a.m. and it was time for me to go. My friend, the one that drove me, was with my other friend, the one who worked with me, while I got questioned. And on my way home, my friend held my hand and kept reassuring me that everything would be fine. Safe to say that I won't really ever go back there again. And I don't trust any night shifts anymore. I have plans working at a different fast food place as well. So, to the creepy old guy, who's hopefully in jail, yeah, let's never meet again.
First things first, I work in a very well-known casino in Lincoln, California. I'm a porter, and I work the graveyard shift. Pretty much what I do is deliver water to the bars, do garbage, replace bags, help servers, bartenders, and bar backs. I'm used to strange people because criminals, meth heads, and just straight up weirdos are always here at this time. People don't scare me. I'm a 6-foot beefy fellow, and there are cameras everywhere. There's only one area that unnerves all the porters, and it's the second floor storage area. All of us don't like it, and we always pair up when one of us has to go up there. The reason is that it's so loud on the casino floor and the staff halls, but it is too quiet on the second floor. That's probably the main reason. Well, Gerald, my best work buddy, who was a 6'9", 290-pound ginger with a beard, and I had to take the portable bar in the storage area in our section. I grabbed the heavy one, and he grabbed the other one, and we took the giant elevator up and started walking. Now this is important. It's a 90-foot walk with 3 large right turns into the actual storage room. And this hall had scaffolding everywhere because of the construction at the hotel, which was directly above us. So we had to maneuver around. It's quieter than usual because the air conditioning isn't on due to the construction, which resumes at 8 a.m. We make it into the storage room. The storage room is massive. There are 5 chain-linked fence blocks with about 1 to 3 sections per block. Each block is about 83 feet by 45 feet, with pathways between them, which fit about 6 people standing shoulder to shoulder. Now each block has its different level of visibility. Some you can see between the shelves, and others don't go over 4 feet high, so you can see anything over 4 feet, and others had 0 visibility. Our section is the 3rd block. We take a left into the last section. There are also very few cameras. We put away the bar without much issue. We walk back and chat about the Justice League. We make it 20 feet to exit the hall, and I heard something. It sounded like someone covered their mouth and laughed. which is weird because no one's supposed to be up here other than Gerald and I. I stopped and turned my head to look slightly behind me. Gerald stopped and looked at me confused. Did you hear that? Hear what? We both listened intently, and sure enough, a small cackling occurred again. What the fuck is that? I don't know. Let's leave, I said. Wait, let's see what it was, he replied. I watch horror movies, and I know cliche when I see it. I point this out to Gerald, and he said he was going to investigate it, and that splitting up would be a way more dangerous option. I reluctantly go with him. We walk up to the first block, and I hear it on the other side of the first block. We peek behind the corner, and we see on the left side of the second block a construction helmet slightly peeking from around the corner. After 2 seconds, it disappeared. We hurried to the other side, but it was gone. We go forward a little more, and we heard cackling, but it was farther, on the fourth block. Luckily, the fourth block only had one blind spot, which was where the helmet was. So Gerald goes around to try to intercept it. I keep my eyes on it. He gives me a signal, and we both charge it. It leans back, and we nearly run into each other. We look down to see the empty construction helmet on the ground. We were dumbstruck. There were no other exits, and we would have seen whoever if they ran. No other place to hide, and we would have heard if someone climbed a fence. We look around. No answers. Gerald finally agrees that we should leave. We hurry out. I peer over my shoulder, and after we pass the exit, I see it again, peer slightly over the doorway. We bolt to the elevator through the scaffolding. We make it to the elevator and quickly got inside. We hear a wet slapping sound by the scaffolding. The elevator closes and we go down. We were both so nervous. I still have no idea if someone was fucking with us or something else.
One night, I was working a night shift in a refinery. I was working as a hole watch for my shift, which means I basically sit at an entrance and I document everyone that goes in and out. Well, a guy showed up. I got his name and he gave me the company he worked for, so I logged him in. Everything checked out, so I'm waiting at the entrance for a few hours for the guy to come out. Now, that's really nothing unusual because most of the people that go in will stay there for, 2 to 6 hours at a time. And every hour or two, I yell up just to make sure they're okay. I would yell, and usually the guys whistle back or make a noise to let me know everything's okay, and every time I check, I thought I heard a response. Later, a few more guys came up to go in, and I log them in, and I let them know that there's another guy up there doing inspections. They go in, and they radio back, "Hey, there's no one in here." Immediately, I had a weird feeling because I was at the only exit or entrance, and there's no possible way to get out of that container without me knowing. The way the container is set up, right, and you have to climb a ladder up into it from underneath using a scaffold to help. I was sitting on the scaffold far back enough to where if anybody came out, they would drop right down in front of me, and the only way off of it was through a gate opening that I was guarding. So I radio my foreman, and I explained to him what happened. He got in contact with the company, and they had no one by that name, and no one scheduled to check that particular container. I was completely baffled at this point. Here I am, as adamant as ever that somebody went up into that container. I thought I was going crazy, and I was also a little weirded out. I had his signature on the log where they sign in, and I have to sign right next to their name also acknowledging that I know that they're going in. For about 20 minutes, I'm in full panic mode, and I'm freaking out because I don't have an explanation as to what happened or where he went or who he even was. And on top of that, I could have easily lost my job because of it.
I work at a family-owned restaurant as a counter girl. My job is fairly easy, and when I turned 16 years old, they allowed me to become a closer. Which shouldn't be the name, since closing counter girls leave an hour before actual closing time. One night, 3 well-dressed and fit men came in. They were buff, over 6'3" at least, dressed in fitted suits with nice jewelry on. And I can't lie, they were very attractive. One of them came to the counter while my coworkers weren't around and asked for my number. I proceeded to tell them how young I was. He continued on with it and said, "Just delete the messages." I got his number and began texting him and felt relief that he told me that he was on a business trip and he actually lives in Texas and is leaving in 4 days. Those next 4 days, since I refused to go to his place, he was coming in every night to get food. I didn't mind it at first, but each day he came with a different man. When he told me he was only on a trip with the 2 men from the first meeting. By the time the 3rd or 4th day rolled around, my closing shift ended at 11, since it was a Saturday night. He came in again, this time with even taller and bigger men. I'm talking gigantic muscle men, which was very unnerving. It was about 10:15 or so, and he said, "You guys close at 12, right? So you're off soon, huh?" And I just smiled and nodded at him and cashed him out. I went about my usual business, and around 10:55, when I went to put stuff in the dish room before clocking out, something caught my eye outside the little kitchen window. It was this fucking guy inside his rental white Challenger with a black stripe. I recognized it clear as day since he boasted about it upon our first meeting. Sure enough, when I walk up to the window, they were in there waiting. At this time, I recently turned 16 and didn't have my license just yet, so my sister was picking me up. She parked fairly far away, past where they were, and there were no streetlights on or anything. I was starting to become nauseous. I immediately started panicking, and my waitress noticed. I told her everything, and she had me call my sister to pull up to the door. And I told her, "Please don't go outside, Vanessa. Let me go on my own." The last thing I wanted was for her to get hurt. But she's a mother, and she denied what I said and walked me out and made sure I got into the car and locked the doors. Once I got in, I didn't even buckle, and I said to my sister, "You need to drive, and you need not to drive home." My gut was telling me something, and it wasn't nice. My sister, obviously confused and getting freaked out, but did what I asked. I noticed them following, but she had lost them. To this day, I'm grateful for the waitress for helping me and my sister for acting quickly and not stopping to ask questions. I don't know what would have happened if I left on my own.
My brother used to work the graveyard shift at a grocery store. Usually there was about 3 employees during the shift. Everyone started at 9:30 p.m. Except for my brother, he started at 3 a.m. I remember him telling me creepy stories that would happen there. One time a guy got robbed while walking to the store entrance from the parking lot. Another time someone was throwing out trash and saw a homeless guy sleeping in the trash. One time my brother was on break sitting in his car and saw a guy looking into cars. There's just so many stories he's told me. The most scary one for him, though, is the one he experienced 2 years before he resigned when he got a better job. He had just parked his car, and like usual, he always looked around before getting down. He didn't see anyone and decided to get down. He started walking up to the store when he heard footsteps behind him. He looks behind him and sees a guy wearing all black. The guy has this oversized jacket and his hoodie on. My brother is walking at a normal pace, and this guy is speed walking. My brother starts walking faster, puts his hand in his pocket where he has a box cutter utility knife. As he's approaching the entrance, he just prays to God that somebody opens the door fast And sometimes he would have to wait up to 10 minutes because the other employees were just jerks. Anyways, he turns the corner and he sees employees smoking a cigarette in front of the store. When the creep turns the corner and sees the other guy, he immediately turns around and walks back where he came from. The other employee asked my brother if he was following him. My brother said yes, and that if it wasn't for him being outside, he would have had to fight this guy. My brother is the most respectful and hard worker I know, but he always tells me that he will not go out without a fight. A lot of people would even quit because they just didn't want to be a victim of those guys. Some refused to even take the trash out alone. I feel like my brother got lucky that night. Even he feels that way. He said in all the 10 plus years that he worked there, he never saw any employee outside. He would always have to wait a couple of minutes, knocking on the glass, call the store, ask for somebody to open the door. Sometimes he'd even see an employee standing a couple of feet in front of him, stocking the shelves, and they would just ignore him. Anyway, that's the story. For all you graveyard workers, be aware of your surroundings.
Okay, so this just happened 15 minutes ago. I'm still shaking from this shit as I type this. I work out of Five Guys, and I had a shift from 5 p.m. to close. We close at 10 p.m., and we're usually there till about 10:45, cleaning up and prepping for the next day. Usually there's one person on dishes, one cleaning, one changing and taking out the trash, and the manager doing paperwork and helping us out. I'm usually on trash because I'm not really good at the other things. The walk to the dumpster is about 75 yards away from the back door through a pitch black alleyway. Tonight, I had an absurd amount of trash to take out, so I was exhausted and just wanted to go home. On the way back from my last trip, my pants started to fall down because I wear them extremely loose at work. I don't know why. I stopped to pull up my pants and turned around to see a man sprinting towards me. My heart stopped, and I jumped like you would jump from a jump scare in a horror movie. I turned around and did a speed walk type of thing because it's like 10:40 at this time and pitch black out. Shit reminded me of the dude from Get Out. Anyways, I turned back around to see what the guy was doing, and he was fucking gone. Gone. Disappeared. At this point, I full on sprinted to the back door. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the story. The story's kinda anticlimactic, but it scared the crap out of me.